Morioka Moriko is a lonely, miserable woman who works a 9-to-5 job but resigns because she's frustrated with her useless life. And when you'd think she did this to start a side hustle, like every celebrity entrepreneur preaches, she installs a virtual game instead, and soon becomes engrossed in it like a creep. Just after installing the game called MMO Fruits de Mer, she creates a really hot male character named Hayashi, and this marks the start of her escapade into a virtual realm. Hayashi receives his first quest, which is to defeat a colossal rat in a dungeon, and armed with a useless stick, he launches several attacks at the monster, but his initial attempts are as worthless as Moriko's boring life. The rat completely and repeatedly crushes Hayashi, forcing him to respawn and receive several rips from fellow players. He's about as useful as a fly in this game. In his frustration and defeat, a miniature Barbie named Lily appears. Hayashi is entranced by her beauty and angelic features. The dweeb is awkward and speechless, forcing Lily to ask again if Hayashi is okay. Lily, understanding the difficulties of a newbie, offers to team up, and together they begin to battle the dungeon monsters. With Lily's support, Hayashi gains experience and levels up as he annihilates the monsters, and when it's time to face the rat boss again, he is better prepared. He charges at the rat boss with his stick, but he gets cooked again, making him look like he was hit by a bus. However, Lily immediately heals him with her healing magic, and he summons the courage to face the monster again. He charges at it, and this time, he manages to defeat the rat, earning a glowing gem that transforms into a mighty Viking sword. Walking further down the dungeon, they find a treasure chest filled with gold coins and matching couple bracelets, sparking a hint of virtual romance as both Lily and Hayashi seem thrilled to wear a matching pair. Was this quest actually a date? Later, the two of them also share an intimate moment with dweeb Hayashi holding Lily in his arms inside a flower deep in the ocean. Lily later suggests hunting more monsters, but the useless coward remembers he has somewhere to be and chickens out, inventing excuses to avoid her. The next day, he dodges her again, fearing another hunting expedition. Meanwhile, in another part of the virtual world, Hayashi mingles with other players in his guild, including a fatso character named Poko-chan. The guildmaster Kanbei compliments Hayashi's improvement, recalling how he used to be isekai'd by super weak monsters, and how he'd always run off like a coward at full speed in the middle of fights. Lily, feeling neglected, confides in Hime, another guild member. Hime passes the ball to the guildmaster Kanbei to get to the bottom of Hayashi's avoidance. Kanbei confronts Hayashi in a frozen castle. The guildmaster reminds him of the no romance rule, but assures him that it's okay for them to be friends. Accepting the advice, Hayashi confesses he's been having such a good time in the game that he wanted to show his gratitude by giving Lily a special Christmas gift, a crystal rose. This was Hayashi's promise to himself. Their conversation is abruptly interrupted by a monstrous elephant crashing through the roof, launching ice darts. Dodging the attacks, they barely escape. Meanwhile, Lily sits sulking in a tree, worrying about Hayashi. When he finally joins her, she heals his wounds. Lily, looking sad, asks Hayashi if she's been getting in his way, and Hayashi, being a dweeb and a virgin, had no idea how to comfort a girl in distress. Moriko, being a 30-year-old woman, bashes her head in search of answers inside her empty skull, as she has no possible way to find out what a woman wants, despite being a woman herself, and she grieves over the fact that as a woman, she'll be forever a male virgin. Hayashi musters up strength and awkwardly invites her to meet on Christmas Eve, promising a special gift. Lily agrees, albeit with reservations due to her work commitments. Back in the real world, hot businessman Yuta is asked by a coworker to go out for drinks. But Yuta says that IRL life is not important and that MMO life is a priority, and thus rejects the kind invitation from his real-world friend, because he has to go back to play MMO on Christmas Eve. This man gets it. In the real world, Moriko was hungry and had an empty fridge, which is a key characteristic of a responsible 30-year-old adult. So she decided to venture to the supermarket to get groceries. On getting there, she's immediately disgusted at the sight of happy couples, as she is an ugly weirdo who's probably gonna die alone. Just as she hurries to the cashier to leave the supermarket because the raging hormones of the sus couples are suffocating her, she spots a delicious chicken but is embarrassed by her growling stomach. Yuta and Moriko both ask for the chicken at the same time, but her menacing glance makes him back off, allowing her to take it. Back home, Moriko logs in as Hayashi and eagerly waits for Lily. When Lily shows up, she's dressed up in a cute Christmas outfit, making Moriko melt like a dweeb because of the cuteness. Lily gives Hayashi a perfume as a present, and he awkwardly thanks her and wishes her a Merry Christmas, and gives her a mini rose brooch, apologizing for not getting the crystal rose. Lily is overjoyed, appreciating the heartfelt gesture. The next day, in the MMO world, Hayashi and a random female mage guild member, Lilac, savagely work hard on defeating a sweet, innocent, and cute-looking monster. Charging at the bear, he slices it, and a random female mage from the guild, Lilac, casts a spell summoning an amber volt that electrocutes the stuffed bear. They both celebrate and show no remorse for defeating the cute and innocent stuffed. Lilac wonders why no guild members are online during the day, guessing they're probably all working adults. Lilac jokingly confronts Hayashi and accuses him of being a NEET IRL, given that his gaming hours are that of an unemployed person. Moriko is troubled by this because she is an elite NEET, not just a mere scummy NEET. Lilac further explains that guild members log in during the evening. Poko-chan, the ugly fatso, plays at night. Kanbei, the guild master, is online during the day but only shows up to hunt for materials. Hime, the green-haired dude, usually plays from night to morning, and Lily plays only at night. Lilac teases Hayashi for being jobless enough to play during the day, and Hayashi embarrassingly accepts the guild member's suggestion that he's actually a 21-year-old college student and not in reality an unemployed Nobel Prize winner and 30-year-old woman who actually has her life together. This purposeful misunderstanding made its way to Lily, and Lily brings it up while they're having a date on the beach. Hayashi reacts cringely and boosts up the cringe by going along with the story of him being a college student. Otherwise, Hayashi would have to admit he's a sore loser in his 30s, so he just goes along with it. Lily hints at secrets she might reveal about herself, but respects Hayashi's discomfort about sharing personal details and suggests they might open up more as they grow closer. Lily then recounts how the guild almost disbanded under the former guildmaster until Kanbei took over, initially seeming to do it for the guild level, but ultimately to support friends who can't log in regularly. That night, IRL, Moriko falls asleep playing the game like a responsible human and catches a cold. In the morning, she heads to a pharmacy for medicine but is accidentally elbowed by Sakura Yuta, unfortunately isekaiing her. While isekai'd, Moriko has visions of visiting Nirvana with a dwarf angel, transforming into a child. Then she saw a bunch of ugly masked creeps with red, glowing, menacing eyes in suits as they marched past her up a tower. She fled amidst tears as she woke up in a hospital, with Sakura Yuta sitting beside her. He explains that he defeated her like a dungeon monster by accident and brought her to the hospital to ensure she was revived because he was not a healer mage in IRL, unfortunately. Just as he thinks of giving her his business card, the fool realizes he doesn't have any, so he writes it down on a pen and paper and asks for her name also. But Moriko feels ashamed because her own name sounds like a scientific name in a biology class, Morioka Moriko. Kanbei asks if he wants to hug the ground for comfort after realizing he's worthless in this virtual world, but Hayashi explains and tells him he got a cold in the real world and he's thinking about certain things. They offer to listen, but warn they might not be much help. Hayashi explains the incident with Sakurai, which they misunderstand as a romantic encounter. Lilac felt it was a scripted romance setup from a Bollywood movie, while Hime thought he shouldn't just text the supposed lady and update her, he should actually try dating her. Hayashi knew they got the situation confused and realized they thought he was referring to a lady since he was a male character in the virtual world. Hime tells him that to truly show he is an alpha male, he should take her to a nice dinner. Lilac utters some nonsense like a deranged clown, and Hayashi replies that he doesn't know what the heck she is talking about. Kanbei, on the other hand, feels he should not be like a useless teenager, but rather give a call to say thanks and be done with it. Just then, Moriko logs off, deciding to text Sakurai despite her social awkwardness. She gets an instant reply as she dives back into the virtual world. Hayashi returns, announcing that his crush wants to make amends for the accidental isekai and wants to go out for dinner. However, antisocial Moriko is distressed about the dinner, hating to go outside. She looks at herself in the mirror and realizes she's an ugly dweeb with a face like a donkey. She imagines how the scenario will play out when Sakurai meets her and sees her horrible face. Trying not to overthink, she drifts back to the virtual world just like a healthy adult would respond. Hayashi meets Lily at their special tree space. Lily confides that she often retreats to think most of the time because she can't actually complain to anyone IRL. She doesn't want to complain in the virtual world and ruin the mood of anyone who logs in, so she decides it's best that she comes here instead and broods alone. In the real world, Moriko is at ease because of Lily, and decides to send a proper reply to Sakurai concerning the dinner, but realizes she sent it at 2 a.m. in the morning. She curses herself for being a filthy creep with no social intelligence. The next day, Sakurai is in disbelief because an IRL human actually replied, because he is only used to MMO replies, just like any other socially calibrated human. Sakurai can't help but share his thoughts with his friend Koiwai. Noticing Sakurai's glum demeanor, Koiwai jokes that he looks like he got ditched at the altar. Sakurai asks if he knows anyone named Moriko from the distribution department where he works. Koiwai confirms he does and shows him a picture of her on his phone. Koiwai recalls their first encounter when he called the department and Moriko, filling in for someone else, answered the phone. At the time, she was in tears as she was overwhelmed by her workload, so he comforted and appreciated her dedication. Back in the present, Sakurai checks Moriko's message again about how she declined his date offer, not wanting to impose further after he covered her medical expenses, confirming that Sakurai belongs in the MMO world and not IRL, where he is constantly rejected. Later that day, Moriko visits the convenience store to buy groceries and a Fruit de Mer web money card. The store clerk, known as Fujimoto, creeps at Moriko and has perverted thoughts, so he blushes. After her stop at the convenience store, Moriko returns home and is feeling more relaxed because of the emails she exchanged with Sakurai, as well as the bullet she dodged for a potential IRL social encounter. She logs into the game as Hayashi and encounters Poko-chan, who comments that Hayashi looks more at ease, noting the guild's concern that he might stop logging in due to his troubles. Hayashi reassures him, explaining that gaming is his escape and he's doing much better now. Suddenly, a bird flies towards them, delivering a gift from Lily to Hayashi. It's an expensive long coat. Hayashi hesitates to accept it, feeling he has nothing of equal value to give in return and doesn't want to appear like a broke gamer. For a moment, Moriko fantasizes about a romantic gift exchange between Hayashi and Lily. Poko-chan tells him not to worry, sharing how he once received a valuable weapon from a guildmate named Nico, who only wanted to cheer him up. However, Poko-chan warns Hayashi to consider that Lily might have an ulterior motive. IRL, Moriko takes a break from gaming to ponder on the ulterior motives that Lily might have, and pulls out a beverage from the fridge to help her think. Flustered about not being able to stop thinking about it, she jumps back into the game. In the virtual world, Hayashi approaches Lily on their deku tree and returns the gift, expressing his concern about ulterior motives and his inability to reciprocate. Lily assures him she has no hidden agenda and decides to open up about herself. She shares how she received numerous requests from loser strangers to go hunting when she started, becoming popular and envied. Despite warnings to avoid certain players, she persevered in building social relationships in the game. Hayashi asks why she continued playing despite the challenges. Lily explains that she once met someone precious in a different game and longs to have that kind of relationship again. She admits feeling scared to get close to anyone until Hayashi came along. His enthusiasm for the game reignited her excitement. Lily then romantically asks Hayashi to be her partner, revealing she feels most at peace when playing with him. Moriko, being a grown adult and completely ignorant to her unemployed status, feels happy about the virtual relationship being developed with a stranger that could also be a girl IRL. Lily patiently waits in the MMO world as Moriko rolls around in her bed from excitement for a reply. Back in the game, Hayashi puts on the long coat Lily gifted him and agrees to be her partner. Unbeknownst to them, other guild members are spying on the touching moment, amused by the budding friendship. Later that evening, Moriko, thrilled about her new partnership with Lily, doesn't mind dipping into her savings to buy gaming items from loot boxes. This is definitely a smart and powerful investment move by Moriko. Meanwhile, at the convenience store, Fujimoto fills in for a coworker just as Moriko walks in to buy groceries. Moriko, being a responsible adult, buys essential beverages that will keep her nutritionally full. She also spots a mushroom, thinks of Lily, and heads to the cashier. She offers to pay via e-transaction, but Fujimoto mistakes this as a flirt and tries to play it cool, telling her the system is down and will be available again in a few minutes. Agreeing to wait, they wait standing in front of each other, creating a staring contest like two awkward weirdos. Breaking the silence, Fujimoto mentions a bonus campaign in Fruit de Mer and reveals he also plays the game. He then rambles about loot boxes and his plans to get items from them. Their conversation is abruptly interrupted by a fat, ugly pig of a man asking for cigarettes, ruining the moment. Moriko decides to leave, feeling awkward and suddenly conscious of her makeup-free appearance, but pleased that she managed a real-world conversation about gaming. In the gaming world, Hayashi chats with Kanbei about the loot box items, sharing that he just bought some points with web money. Lilac approaches them looking like the spawn of Barbie, flaunting her loot box purchases. Kanbei criticizes her for wasting money on virtual items. He feels it was a total waste of money and she still looked ugly. And Lilac responds, telling him he has no plot to develop, even as a character in a virtual game, and is probably just a creep in real life. A few minutes later, Poco-chan logs in and compliments Lilac, who tells him to silence his fat, filthy mouth. Lilac reveals she spent 10,000 coins on loot boxes and got 2 amazing prizes. Hayashi wonders if he'll get lucky too, aiming for the top prize. The team reacts with shock, and Kanbei warns him about the greed sensor, when a player's desire for rare drops leads to disappointment. Lily appears and volunteers to help Hayashi with the loot boxes. At that instant, in all that excitement, IRL Moriko is shown just clicking a few buttons. Moriko unleashes her web money card and Hayashi buys from the loot boxes, only to get regular healing potions initially, which of course disappoints him. The team encourages him, saying he still has more chances. And after numerous attempts, he finally gets 2 prized items, planning to sell one and keep the other as an heirloom. Lily also wins some prized items, but thinks her gear's color is too dark. She hopes to dye it brighter like Lilac's, who wishes she had gone for a goth look. Kanbei advises Lilac against changing her gear's color, saying it would make her harder to recognize. Later in the dungeon, Poco-chan tells Kanbei he was harsh on Lilac, making her hesitant to wear her new gear. Kanbei admits he isn't trying to bully her, but tends to speak his mind around her. Kanbei and Lilac share a brief romantic moment, because Kanbei uses smooth words and simply claims to like her outfits. In the real world, Sakurai wonders if he'll see Moriko again. Koiwai teases him, asking if he's found his dream girl to simp over, and he calls him a creepy stalker for constantly checking his phone and frequenting the convenience store she visits. Later that evening, Koiwai decides to do some investigating and goes to the convenience store for information about Moriko. After waiting for a while, he's about to leave when Moriko is walking in, and he can't help but notice her well-rounded cannons. Koiwai, realizing later that he actually just came across Moriko, returns to the convenience store to talk to her. Fujimoto wonders if Koiwai is an acquaintance or just hitting on her. Koiwai introduces himself as the weird caller from her previous job, and when he asks what she's been up to, Moriko admits she hasn't been working. Koiwai then invites her out for a drink over the weekend, and feeling cornered, she agrees since she's already revealed her jobless status. The next morning, Koiwai shows Sakurai Moriko's number on his phone, teasing him about how he got it. Sakurai accuses him of being a thief who stole it from his own phone, but Koiwai explains Moriko entered it herself and even agreed to a date. This revelation shocks Sakurai, and he realizes despite being handsome IRL, he truly belongs in the MMO world full-time. Later that day, in the virtual world, Hayashi approaches Lily, needing to get something off his chest. He tells her about an incident with Sakurai, disguising the story by referring to Sakurai as a lady. He explains how he declined a dinner date with him, but has now accepted a date with someone else. Lily goes completely silent in the game, because Sakurai's mind starts finding resemblances between the stories from Hayashi and Moriko. Will Moriko leave her comfort zone and go on a date with Koiwai? Will Sakurai reveal himself as Lily to Moriko? Let us know if you want part 2 by commenting Elite Neat in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. See you guys in the next video. Sakurai, upon discovering this shocking revelation, doesn't know how to respond, which makes Lily remain mute in the virtual world. Noticing her weird silence, Hayashi asks her if she's okay. After several minutes, Lily responds telling Hayashi that she is fine and her silence is because she spilled coffee. Meanwhile, in reality, Sakurai thinks it's too much of a coincidence that Hayashi is Moriko and believes it couldn't possibly be true. The following day, Koiwai continues to tease Sakurai about his date with Moriko, making Sakurai wonder how the donkey managed to go on a date with his crush while he is pushed to the side like a piece of trash and thinks the world is cruel. However, Koiwai then asks him to accompany him on the date so he can get a chance to see the love of his life. Just then, Sakurai has a flashback of Hayashi, which makes him accept the proposal. Meanwhile, Moriko enters a convenience store and buys everything she needs to conceal her perceived ugliness, as she doesn't want to look like a weirdo for her upcoming date. After getting what she needs, she heads to the counter to pay and meets Fujimoto, who introduces himself, and they then talk about the virtual world. Fujimoto suggests they play on the same server, which makes Moriko worry that he will find out she's a creep who plays with a male character. However, she tells him about the server she plays on, which sparks Fujimoto's interest as he also plays on the same server. He then reveals his virtual character to her, stunning her as he is Kanbei, the guildmaster. Later that day, in the virtual world, Hayashi feels his online life is completely ruined, as Kanbei is now aware that he is a sore loser. Shortly afterwards, Lilac approaches him and tells him about her real-life friend, who is the same age as her and attends the same university. She further reveals that when she finally met her friend's character in the game, her friend was playing as a male character, secretly pretending to be a guy online. After hearing this, Hayashi feels some relief, realizing he's not the only mental case in the world playing as the opposite gender in a multiplayer online game. He then asks her if realizing her friend was playing as a guy creeped her out or made her feel weird, but Lilac doesn't understand why the Mushroom Head is so interested in her friend and asks him if he's trying to make fun of her. Just as they're having the conversation, Kanbei appears and informs them that people do freak out when they realize an individual plays as the opposite sex, but Lilac counters him, saying people are free to have fun however they want. She then points out to Hayashi that if he decides to play as a girl online, she will fully support him. As Lilac leaves, Hayashi apologizes to Kanbei for lying to the guild about his real-life story, and Kanbei accepts his apology and tells him everyone enjoys the game in their own way. However, Kanbei asks him if Lily knows he's a girl in real life. So Hayashi reveals that Lily has no idea, and he feels it would be best to be honest with her because she is his partner. Upon hearing this, Kanbei then assures him that he will keep his real-life identity a secret, as he should be the one to decide when to tell the truth to the other guild members. However, Kanbei warns him not to ask Lily for too much real-life advice, which stuns Hayashi, who wonders what the heck the dweeb is talking about. The following day, in real life, Moriko, who hates staring at the mirror because she doesn't like seeing her own ugly face, finally decides to look in the mirror and cringes at the sight of her haunting reflection. The sight of her reflection sends fear into every bone of her body, as she wonders why she looks like she has been in jail for the past 15 years. However, she's confused about what outfit to wear for the date, and decides to go into the virtual world to ask Lily. In that moment, she has a flashback of Kanbei advising her not to ask Lily for real-life advice, but she feels the psycho is probably confused with life, and that's why he is yet to develop a massive plot in his own life. So Moriko logs into the virtual world and asks Lily for her candid advice on going out for a drink. Upon hearing the question, Lily asks Hayashi when exactly the date is, and he responds that it's tomorrow. Meanwhile, that information perplexes Sakurai, as Koiwai has already revealed to him that his date is the day after tomorrow because he's on a business trip. At that moment, he feels Hayashi couldn't possibly be Moriko, and he has gotten the whole thing wrong. Back in the virtual world, Lily tells Hayashi to go for a neat look and not to smell like an anime convention. But Hayashi needs her to be more specific and asks her what kind of clothing a woman would wear, which of course shocks Lily. She wonders why he wants to know that information and if he intends to dress like a hideous drag queen. Just then, Kanbei emerges and Lily, who is another nutcase pretending to be a woman, pushes the question to him as he is better positioned to answer Hayashi's question since they're both men. But Kanbei insists that Lily answer the question instead, so she then tells Hayashi to pick a blouse and a skirt. Kanbei further stresses the tense issue and asks for her opinion on the perfect hairstyle, but she wonders why he's behaving like a white girl in a horror movie. However, she responds that long hair would be suitable, but Kanbei apparently disapproves, saying he likes short hair on his chick when going out on a date. However, Hayashi knows Kanbei is capping because he has never been on a date in his entire life. Lily and Kanbei soon begin to argue over the length of a woman's hair when she goes on a date. After hearing the advice from both side characters, Moriko realizes that she doesn't have the time for useless arguments and decides to go for a medium-length hairstyle instead. Later on, she goes on a shopping spree because she's been wearing the same Meg Griffin shirt every single day. On the assumed day of Moriko and Koiwai's night out, Sakurai calls Koiwai to confirm the date, and Koiwai assures him it is tomorrow. Sakurai then logs into Fruit de Mer and realizes Hayashi isn't online and is probably getting ready for the date. That night, Moriko arrives at the rendezvous and thinks she's probably early since Koiwai isn't anywhere to be found. On the other hand, in the virtual world, Lily joins the other members of the guild for an adventure. She asks about Hayashi, and Kanbei tells her he wasn't online as he had gone out for a drink. Meanwhile, Sakurai is still skeptical and feels that Hayashi is in fact Moriko, and believes beyond a reasonable doubt that she will be at the rendezvous location. He then immediately logs out of the game as Lily, which shocks the guild members as they are in the heat of an adventure and need her magic healing abilities. On the other hand, Moriko feels that the night will be longer in more ways than one as she continues to wait. She wonders if the whole thing is a scam and Koiwai must have balls of steel for toying with her by asking her out. In the meantime, Sakurai decides to go to the location to confirm his suspicion, and with traffic being heavy, he decides to run instead. After waiting for an hour, Moriko then decides to leave. Just then, Sakurai arrives at the location, but he doesn't find Moriko at first. He turns and sees her leaving. He immediately runs after her and calls out her name, which gets her attention. Just as Moriko is turning to leave, she's surprised to see Sakurai, and then she gets a call finally from Koiwai. Sakurai then reveals to her that he's aware Koiwai is calling her, which shocks her. So she then asks him how he knows, and he tells her that they're actually co-workers. Moriko then picks up the call, and Koiwai informs her that he has traveled. She then asks him about the planned get-together, and he tells her it's actually tomorrow. At that moment, she feels embarrassed, thinking she's a dumbass game otaku who can't keep track of the days of the week. However, Koiwai calls her cute on the phone, which embarrasses her more because her mirror always says otherwise. Realizing she's uncomfortable, Sakurai then tells her to have a little confidence in herself, and she wonders why he's using a line from an online game. Not wanting to waste the effort she put into getting ready for the date, she invites Sakurai for a drink. Into the night they drink, and Sakurai then orders an Uber to take her home. Shortly afterward, he gets her water and her favorite spicy chicken. As they get to the car, Moriko thanks him for everything, and he suggests they take a walk, which she accepts. As they walk, Sakurai tells her she is a serious and kind-hearted person, and she wonders why he's using Lily's lines from Fruit de Mer, but brushes it off. They soon walk for a while, and he takes her home like a proper gentleman and bids her goodnight. Throughout the following day, Lily notices Hayashi's absence, and in reality, Sakurai thinks his motivational speech to Moriko about having confidence in herself has backfired. He believes she might have decided to approach life with confidence and quit the loser's online game. Meanwhile, Moriko goes on her date with Koiwai, who upon seeing her gives a travel souvenir and takes a picture of her face. Throughout that night, they have a nice dinner with lots of wine. However, Koiwai rambles on about his friend Sakurai and his admirable prowess in playing online multiplayer games. He also inquires about the multiplayer game Moriko plays, and she tells him the sole purpose of her playing the game is to meet new people and make new friends. She further tells him how her online friends helped her with makeover ideas for the date. Koiwai responds, saying he loves her new makeover, unlike before when she looked like an exhausted goat. She wonders if she heard that last part right, but they both laugh over the joke, and he goes to get more grape juice. Upon arrival, he finds her sleeping while clutching tightly to the menu. Meanwhile, in Fruit de Mer, Lily apologizes for being irrational and uncoordinated during their adventure, explaining she has not been herself. In reality, Sakurai finds it challenging to concentrate on the game because his mind is consumed with thoughts of Moriko and Koiwai's date. He then gets a message from Koiwai with a picture of Moriko sleeping during the dinner date, and Koiwai suggests he take her to his place and do questionable things. Upon getting this information, Sakurai logs out of the game and immediately blazes to Koiwai's place. Upon arriving, Koiwai laughs at him for being a disgusting sissy and assures him there's no way he could be that cruel as he doesn't look like a serial killer. Sakurai knows Koiwai looks exactly like a serial killer, but laughs it off. Sakurai then tries to act nonchalant and tells Koiwai he doesn't care what they do as it's not his concern. Koiwai tells him to stop the fat-ass lie, pointing out that he ran like Flash to his house upon getting the message. He then asks how Sakurai met Moriko at the rendezvous location the day before, and Sakurai tells him he met her on his way home from work. But Koiwai knows that's cap because Sakurai doesn't use that route when he comes from work. Meanwhile, Moriko gets home from her dinner date and thinks about the two plot-craving dudes she went on dates with, but decides to log into her virtual world as she prefers it to the real world. In the virtual world, Hayashi feels good to be back after a while doing dating stuff and is approached by Lily, who asks him about his date. The following day, Sakurai spends the entire day brooding over the awkward situation of him and Moriko playing opposite characters in the game, while Moriko stays online waiting for him to log in. The next day in the virtual world, Hayashi, Lilac, and Hime approach Lily, and she tells them she wants to spend the day checking out the outfits she got, which made them all excited to see her avatar collections. So Lily shows them her bunny outfit and other nice ones, and they geek out over how cool her outfits are. Later that night, under the virtual world stars, Hayashi and Lily have a conversation. Hayashi thanks her for the makeover advice she gave him earlier, rambling on about his date and how he messed up the days and went a day earlier. He also tells her of the unexpected meeting with the woman in glasses and how she later turned out to be thoughtful and wasn't the worst person alive. The following weekend, Koiwai decides to play a game, so he calls up Moriko to help him out with the multiplayer game she's playing, which shocks her. She thinks it would be embarrassing if Koiwai finds out she's playing as a male character, so she tries using a pretext to dissuade him from playing that game. But it's too late as Koiwai has already downloaded it. Realizing she couldn't get him to back down, she desperately comes up with a plan and decides to create a new female character instead to play only with Koiwai. She makes the new character look like a character she used in a different MMO game in the past. In the virtual world, Nico discusses with Kanbei and then notices a new character approaching. At the same time, Moriko gets a message from Koiwai that he created his female character and named her Harumi, and she can find her in the game plaza. Moriko takes her new character named Molly to the game plaza and notices a tall baddie with long hair. She thinks Koiwai has a taste for beautiful women, but as she gets up close and calls her attention, she's creeped out by the sight of an ugly, muscular female bodybuilder who dashes towards her. Kanbei and Nico immediately notice the creepy sight of the shit-faced muscular female bodybuilder and think it's rather unique. Shortly afterwards, they all start to chat, making Moriko nervous as she wonders how things ended up this way, which gets her scared as she doesn't want to blow her cover. Meanwhile, in reality, Sakurai arrives home and gets a message from Koiwai telling him about playing a multiplayer game with Moriko. He wonders if Moriko invited Koiwai to play Fruit de Mer, which makes him jealous because he thought they were getting closer without him knowing. Just then, he sees a picture of Moriko's female game character Molly and thinks the character looks familiar. On the other hand, Molly reveals to Kanbei that she is Hayashi, and she needed to create the female character because a friend wanted to play with her and asks him to keep it a secret. In reality, Fujimoto wonders why he's keeping so many secrets from Moriko and jokes to himself if the game is now the secret island. He thinks if the muscular female character is Moriko's friend, then it would be the disgusting psycho he saw with her earlier in the supermarket. A few minutes later, Sakurai analyzes the unhealthy love triangle between him, Koiwai, and Moriko, and feels it weighs on him as he needs to be happy that Koiwai and Moriko are getting along. He further reflects that the goal of playing a multiplayer game was to find a place where he could be someone else and be anonymous. He thinks of the appearance of the new character Molly and realizes she has a striking resemblance to a character in the previous multiplayer game he played, with the same blue hair. He can't help but be reminded of an old friend he was once close with in his previous MMO. Meanwhile, in the virtual world, Harumi informs Molly and the team that his friend will be joining them in the game as well, which shocks Moriko as she hears that Sakurai is also playing the game. Back in reality, Sakurai has a sentimental moment and thinks of his close friend Yuki from his previous multiplayer game. He immediately has a flashback of his younger years when his adoptive parents died. He never got to know his birth parents and was treated unfairly because he looked different. Shortly after the death of his elderly adoptive parents, he dived into the world of online multiplayer games and became an MMO junkie. Online multiplayer games soon became his comfort zone, and he couldn't get enough of it. He created a short, disgusting character with ridiculously long ears called Hearth, and soon found the girl of his dreams, Yuki. They became really close, even though she was always busy with work and only logged in during weekends. Yuki always complained about how tedious her work was, but always found a way to motivate herself, which made him feel positive towards himself. Suddenly, Yuki left and never logged in again, which left him heartbroken. He feels there is a coincidence between Moriko creating a character that looks so much like Yuki, but shrugs it off. Following this, Sakurai then creates a character that looks like a homeless pedo and names it Hearth, so he logs in. Afterward, in the virtual world, Hearth meets up with Molly, Harumi, and the rest of the guild members. He introduces himself to Molly as Hearth, and is disappointed she doesn't recognize the name, so he feels it's just a coincidence that she has the same resemblance as Yuki. Later that night, in the virtual world, as they walk, Molly glances up at Hearth's cursor and can't pronounce his name as she's too Asian to read out an English name. She tries pronouncing it but ends up saying harem, so she decides to stop before she embarrasses herself any further. She then asks him if he plays games a lot, and he reveals he enjoys playing MMOs and used to play a game called Nanter SG. Upon hearing the name of the game, Molly freezes, so she asks for the pronunciation of his name once again, which he tells her, and she goes into total shock. Back in reality, it dawns on Moriko that Sakurai might be her greatest friend in Nanter SG, her previous multiplayer online game, as she has a flashback of their time spent together in the virtual world. She logs out of the game and decides to call Sakurai. Sakurai picks up her call and she inquires if he knows a character named Yuki in Nanter SG. Sakurai confirms he was Hearth in the game, which fries her brain cells for a minute. She then tells him how she enjoyed their time playing together the game, and even though the game is gone now, she wishes they could play together again. At that moment, Sakurai thinks of telling her he's Lily, as he's tired of being scummy, but as he spells it out to her, his phone battery dies and the connection is lost. The next day, Sakurai gets a message from Moriko telling him how delighted she is and that she would love to talk about multiplayer online games with him. Sakurai walks out of the store and suddenly stumbles upon Moriko, who is embarrassed because she looks like a donkey took a piss on her face. As if that wasn't enough, her stomach growls like that of a hungry, disgusting bear, so Sakurai offers her the stuff he got from the convenience store. Shortly afterward, they sit by the side of the road, and Moriko thanks him for the food and the jacket he gave to warm her up. Sakurai then tells her that even though she doesn't credit herself enough, she's actually serious and kind-hearted, which reminds her again that Lily was the only person who had ever said those exact words to her in that combination. She then tells him about Lily being her friend and how anytime he talks, it reminds her so much of Lily. Hearing those words strengthens Sakurai's resolve as he summons all the confidence in the world, stands up, and tells her he is Lily. What will Moriko's reaction upon hearing this shocking revelation be? And will her online relationship with Lily be affected? Let us know if you want part 3 by typing MMO in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more awesome anime recaps. See you guys in the next video.